The idea that we've now got the best version of Anthony Joshua, do you subscribe to that view?
Absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. Simon, I said this before, going back to the Franklin fight, I said to you, activity was key for Joshua. That's affected his confidence in his own ability, and I know this for a fact.
Right.
And I think that activity was key. The more active he was, the better he'll perform, because it's not just about the physicality side of it, it's about the mental state of it, the psychological side as well. And I think that that's what we're seeing now. Joshua wants to fight again in June or July.
Yeah.
They're talking about Philip Hrgović possibly.
Win a world title.
Hrgović, I think you called that fight as well. I think if the undisputed fight happens, if we get that fight, then the titles start to get freed up. Joshua Philip Hrgović is a fight that will possibly happen in June or July. So
and then he's got his third world title, because I think he'll beat Hrgović.
Absolutely. Josh reckons that this activity, you're seeing him with better performances all the time. And
Can I frame it differently for the purpose of debate?
Yeah.
We're talking about the best version of Anthony Joshua, right? And the questions that have abounded have been twofold. We've discussed it, and other people have discussed it. Lots of people have said the pilot light's gone out. He doesn't have the propensity to put himself in harm's way in order to deliver outcomes, like he did against Klitschko and like he had to do against Andy Ruiz, and obviously lost, right?
Sure.
So we've seen him fight Franklin, who didn't really come to fight. We've seen him fight Robert Helenius, who didn't really come to fight and was avoiding him until he caught up with him.
Yeah.
Otto Walling couldn't, and neither could Francis Ngannou. When we talk about the best version of Anthony Joshua, right, he's had, in these 4 fights, no risk. If the risk going into the ring is always there, I get that. But no one's thrown back at him really of any significance. When he fights one of the top guys, he's going to get hit.
Right, let me explain.
Is he in a better position now to be able to cope with that issue? Because the one thing that everyone said is that when he gets one on the whiskers, he's going to go the same way as he's gone previously.
Yeah. No, they totally don't agree with that. So let me explain, going back to the Jermaine Franklin fight. So you said Franklin come and he didn't really engage. Well, guess what? Joshua didn't either. Joshua was throwing his shots and holding his feet because he didn't have that confidence, right? Inactivity was playing a big part of that. Then we fast forward into his next fight, Robert Helenius,
who avoided him.
Yeah, but Joshua also, if you look back on that fight, for the first 6 rounds, you're going. Round 2 comes, you're going, come on, Josh, start stepping in now. He was throwing his shots, but holding his feet still. Again, still not really having that confidence.
Because people compared that to what Wilder did to Helenius, but Helenius came to fight Wilder, didn't he?
Yeah, he came to fight Wilder, but also Wilder sort of rolled the dice, and Wilder's like that anyway. Joshua was holding his feet, he was throwing the shots, leaning back even off the shots. 7th round, first time he done it, stepped in, boom, knocked him out. Then we see that, so you're going, right, now against Otto Walling, who's a tricky southpaw, awkward southpaw. So Joshua has to close the space. He has to, he has to control that space. And he'd done that against Walling. And that's why he made it as easy as he did. Because, he was stepping in, he was believing in himself, going phase 1, then going again, they're putting the shots together, combinations. So you're watching the progression every time in the performances. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said to you, Anthony Joshua at his best is like now, it's like the old Anthony Joshua, but what's he got different from the old Anthony Joshua to now? He's got experience. And so if you had the old Anthony Joshua fighting with his heart on his sleeve, but he's got experience, he now knows when to go for it, when not to go for it. I think he paid that price against...
So you don't think there's any questions? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Because we saw Anthony get straightened by Dillian Whyte.
Yeah.
Right? We saw him have challenges against Andy Ruiz, and I'm being told repeatedly there's lots more behind the scenes of that Andy Ruiz fight, that when people actually get to understand it, will understand why he lost that fight. We saw him have a mental meltdown at the end of the Usyk fight.
Yeah.
You now believe that he's prepared, when it comes on top to the top guys, to go to the same place that he went to with Klitschko.
Absolutely.
To win a world title again.
Absolutely.
He won't have to do it against Hrgović. I think he'll beat Hrgović.
No, no.
When he gets in against Fury, or maybe Usyk again.
Absolutely. I think if the 3rd fight against Usyk happens right now, and Anthony Joshua, he beats Usyk. This Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, that's a great fight.
And you believe
that's
that
a 50-50 fight. Because
you now, irrespective of the opposition, and he's done his job, and each one of these fights has built a platform for Anthony now to build the psychological well-being back into his fighting. How much of that do you attribute to Ben Davison, by the way?
A lot, because it is a team effort. So, like, for a fighter,
there's a loving going now, isn't there?
No. For a fighter's got to have like that confidence, that confidence where, you know what I mean, where your trainer says something, he says to you, jump, you ask how high. It's like one of those ones that it's like, you've got to believe in what your trainer's sending you. And I think that Ben Davison's a great student of the game, and he works out tactically, gets it right. And I think that Joshua has that belief in his trainer. Like, a happy fighter is a very dangerous one, and he's happy.
Which is what you said last
in
week.
His surroundings.
Yeah.
He's happy in his surroundings. The whole team. It seems like everything's right for him, and we're seeing that in his performances. Like I say to you, Joshua, now you can put him in. You know, a talk of him and Tyson Fury 12 months ago, Simon. You go, that's not even a conversation. You're going to go, it's probably 90-10
he wasn't ready
in favour
for
of
But he wouldn't have been ready for it off the back of 2 defeats to Usyk, was he?
It's a 50-50 fight now.
And now it's more of a compelling fight.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting one, because I think the public will start demanding that fight. And it'll be interesting, just as an offshoot, before I get to something you said on Friday about Anthony Joshua, which I just want to question you on. I think the media will start building up, the Western media will start building up the narrative, we need to see Fury versus Joshua.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if there's a left field play of the Saudis going to Usyk and saying, do you want to take step-aside money
For the second fight.
for Joshua versus Fury?
What, instead of the May the 18th? No, see, I think the Undisputed happens, but I don't think the rematch does.
Yeah, because I had this discussion with someone else and saying, have the Saudis, because the Saudis will listen to some extent, their own agenda, of course,
Yeah.
and if the Western media start talking about Fury Joshua, could there be a step-aside for Usyk? If I'm Usyk, why would I do that? But Fury will know, because I think Usyk's about the belts, and I think Fury's about the reputation and the money. Right? And there's a bigger fight.
Yeah.
There's more interested in Fury versus Joshua now than there is against Fury against Usyk. The only thing that hangs more on the Fury-Usyk fight is because it's undisputed, and we haven't seen one for 25 years. What I think you're right on is that the rematch, if Fury beats Usyk,
Yeah.
I think you could get Usyk to step aside on the rematch
Yeah.
for Fury versus Joshua.
So this is where I see it. I think that Fury Usyk goes May the 18th.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua
Fights Hrgovic in June.
No, I don't think he does. Because Anthony Joshua will fight Hrgovic for the vacant IBF belt.
Which will be dropped after the fight.
I don't know if it will be dropped, because I don't think it's only going to be dropped because of the rematch clause that's in place. So they have to drop it to give the mandatory.
You think they can't engineer that?
So no. What I'm saying is, this is how I see it. I think that Fury Usyk goes May the 18th. Anthony Joshua possibly fights Joseph Parker too, in between that, and then we get Joshua versus Fury. That's where I say, I'm not sure where Hrgovic fits into it,
but if you,
unless the IBF belt's on the line.
Here's a thought process for you. If the IBF belt drops off as a result of mandatories,
then we get Joshua.
Hrgovic is the mandatory.
Yeah,
right? Joshua gets the IBF. Fury beats Usyk and keeps the WBC, WBO, and WBA belts. You've not got one undisputed fight. You've got two against two different protagonists.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about serious history being made, not only just in boxing terms, but Saudi are engineering an undisputed for the first time in 25 years since Holyfield versus Lewis.
Yeah.
If Fury wins that fight, you engineer another undisputed because ultimately
he picks up the
picks
IBF.
up Joshua, unless of course the WBO and WA start holding mandatories and can strip it away. But I think that Anthony Joshua has now put himself, what a change in circumstances, from somebody that's a busted flush with the pilot light gone out, and you've been consistent that you don't think that's the case, to somebody now that potentially has changed, because of the diminishing of the heavyweight division by Francis Ngannou's performance against Tyson Fury and the fight that's been made, Anthony Joshua has now put himself in a position actually via Fury to be ultimately the potential game changer again for heavyweight boxing.
Absolutely. You know how the landscape changes with heavyweight boxing is unbelievable. I mean,
I still think he's got a question to ask about when he gets one on the whiskers. We will see.